Let's bring in Gary Neville, who, as you heard, was reacting to this news as it seeped through while he was commentating on the game at Old Trafford this afternoon. Gary, what would you say now you've had time, a little time, to consider what this European Breakaway League is all about and the reaction to it so far?
Well, the reaction to it is that it's been damned, and rightly so. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan and have been for 40 years of my life, but I'm disgusted, absolutely disgusted. I'm disgusted with Manchester United and Liverpool most. I mean, Liverpool, they pretend, you'll never walk alone, the people's club, the fans' club. Manchester United, 100 years, born out of workers around here. They're breaking away into a league without competition that they can't be relegated from. It's an absolute disgrace, and honestly, we have to wrestle back the power in this country from the clubs at the top of this league, and that includes my club. And I've been calling for 12 months as part of another group for an independent regulator to bring checks and balances in place to stop this happening. It's pure greed. They're imposters. They're imposters. They're nothing to do. The owners of this club, the owners of Liverpool, the owners of Chelsea, the owners of Manchester City, they're nothing to do with football in this country. There are 100 and odd years of history in this country from fans that have lived and loved these clubs. And they need protecting. The fans need protecting. I've benefited from football hugely. I've made money out of football. I invest money into a football club. Now, I'm not against money in football, but the principles and ethos of fair competition and the rights to play the game so that Leicester win the league, they go into the Champions League. Manchester United aren't even in the Champions League. Arsenal aren't even in the Champions League. You watched them earlier on today. We're absolute shambles of a football club at the moment. Tottenham aren't in the Champions League. And they want a God-given right to be in there. They're an absolute joke, and honestly, the time has come now. Independent regulators, stop these clubs having the power base. Enough is enough.
There does seem to be the suggestion that they would need permission from the Premier League to take part, and without it, it would have to be a breakaway, not just from UEFA competition, but from our domestic competition as well, Gary. So with that in mind, let's be clear about this. What is the motivation?
Well, you know the motivation is greed. Dave, my reaction earlier on wasn't an emotional reaction. Deduct them all points tomorrow, put them at the bottom of the league and take the money off them. Seriously, you have got to stamp on this. It's criminal. It's a criminal act against football fans in this country. Make no mistake about it. This is the biggest sport in the world. This is the biggest sport in this country. And it's a criminal act against the fans. Simple as that. Deduct points, deduct their money, and punish them.
Do you think these clubs would have the courage, knowing how much widespread condemnation there is, to go through with it, Gary?
Dave, the bottle merchants. You never hear from the owners of these clubs. Absolute bottle merchants. They've got no voice. And then they'll probably hide in a few weeks and say it was nothing to do with them. You know, they were only talking about it. Seriously, in the midst of a pandemic, an economic crisis, football clubs at National League level going bust nearly, furloughing players, clubs on the edge in League 1 and 2. And these lot are having Zoom calls about breaking away and basically creating more greed. Joke.
Roy, what would you add to that?
Believe it or not, I agree with everything Gary said, which is quite unusual. But yeah, I go back to it. We mentioned at half time. I think it does come back to greed. Obviously, we've seen new ownerships come into the English game, buying Premiership clubs, Championship clubs, League One clubs over the last, 10, 15, 20 years. And it is, I agree, it's just greed. That's the only word I would use to describe it. Nothing but greed. They couldn't care less about the football supporter who works hard and supports their club, and money. It's just down to money.
It's disgusting as well, because the timing of it, not that would that make it any better. We still, the season's not finished yet, and I'm talking about breaking away. Like, you know, Gary was very strong on that. You know, he's been fan of United for 40 years, but I believe Man City are involved in this breakaway as well, and I can't understand, after what they have built in Manchester with the local community, all the money they've spent with the women's, the men's, the kids, the grassroots, for them to want to pull away. I'm flabbergasted. You know, I really get emotional, but for them to want to pull away now, it's a disgrace, to be honest. The teams involved in this is just, again, it's about lining pockets. And we know it's a business. At the end of the day, people are going to say, well, the businessmen, yeah, they are businesses, but they're taking away the soul from what we've believed is the best you know, sport in the world and ripping it away. It's like the ripping the heart and soul out of it. And yeah, it's a disgrace. It really is, Dave.